The night over Stalag Luft 3 was silent, cold, and deceptively still. Snow clung to the roofs of the barracks, muffling the distant hum of guard patrols. The wind whispered through the wire fences, carrying a brittle, icy scent that hinted at the danger lurking in every shadow. Beneath the frozen earth, however, a secret world throbbed with life, a labyrinth of whispers, scraping metal, and the muted heartbeat of men chasing the impossible. More than 600 Allied airmen, pilots, navigators, engineers had spent months carving 3 tunnels they named Tom, Dick, and Harry. Each tunnel was more than a passage through the soil. It was a promise, a fragile thread of hope stretching beneath the watchful eyes of their captors. The men labored with what little they could find: tin cans reshaped into shovels, bedboards bent and nailed into braces, old blankets rolled into bellows. Every handful of sand was carefully removed, hidden in trouser pouches, and released into the yard with meticulous caution. Above ground, the camp seemed calm, orderly, and impenetrable. Below it, determination pulsed like a living organism, a silent rebellion etched into the very earth. The idea of escape went far beyond desperation. It was a duty, a statement that captivity could not extinguish courage. Stalag Luft 3 had been designed to make tunneling impossible. The sandy soil, German engineers believed, would collapse at the first attempt. The raised huts offered no cover for digging, and watchtowers would instantly reveal any suspicious motion. Yet the prisoners' ingenuity proved formidable. In the narrow, crowded barracks, artists forged identification papers using stolen ink. Tailors worked by candlelight to create German uniforms, and cartographers painstakingly replicated maps of the surrounding area. Secret workshops sprang to life under the noses of the guards, producing compasses, miniature sleds for hauling dirt, and improvised ventilation systems to keep air flowing in the tunnels. Every detail was a small victory, every improvised tool a symbol of resilience. Even the slightest error could cost a life, yet the men pressed on, silent, coordinated, almost invisible beneath the scrutiny of armed watchmen. The tunnels themselves were marvels of patience and cunning. Harry, the largest and most ambitious, stretched hundreds of feet underground, supported by a latticework of wooden beams scavenged from bunks. Tin cans and powdered milk containers formed a crude but effective air circulation system, ensuring that the men could breathe for hours in the claustrophobic darkness. The floor of the tunnel was lined with wooden tracks, allowing small trolleys to transport the excavated soil in near silence. The constant threat of discovery hung over every movement. One careless slip could alert the guards, and one miscalculated sound could doom the entire operation. Despite this, the prisoners maintained schedules, watch rotations, and signals, a network as intricate as any military campaign. Their unity, courage, and shared obsession transformed fear into a focused, tangible force, and for a few precious moments each day, the nightmare of imprisonment faded into the single goal of freedom. In the barracks, tension mingled with secret laughter, small triumphs over fear and despair. Men exchanged whispered advice, shared morsels of food, and hid away tools and documents with ingenuity born of necessity. Even boredom became a weapon. It disguised their activity, made them appear complacent, while beneath the floorboards, entire tunnels grew. Every night, the earth swallowed their energy, their sweat, and their whispered plans, only to return it as hope. Outside, guards patrolled with rifles and dogs, unaware that every step they took above concealed the quiet, persistent revolution below. It was a delicate ballet of deception, endurance, and ingenuity,
The prisoners' minds remained sharp, their spirits unbroken, and their hearts fixed on the day when the tunnels would finally give way to the open world above. For these men, every grain of sand removed, every sketch copied, every forged paper completed was not just a task, it was a defiance of oppression, a testament to the unyielding human will.
And deeper still, the tunnels stretched like arteries beneath the frozen ground, supported by scavenged wood, lit with stolen electrical wire, and ventilated by a contraption made from powdered milk cans. The air was thin, dusty, and heavy, with the scent of earth and sweat. Every movement had to be calculated, measured, silent, for the shadow of discovery hung over them like a guillotine. The men, working in shifts, took turns digging, hauling dirt, and reinforcing the tunnels, communicating through a network of taps and whispers. Hours blurred into days, days into weeks, each moment a delicate balance between survival and despair. The constant threat of collapse or detection was a silent partner in their labor, yet their resolve never wavered. Outside, the camp was quiet, deceptively calm, with watchful guards and patrolling dogs giving no hint of the revolution taking place beneath their feet. On the night chosen for the Great Escape, the air was sharp and brittle, each breath a visible plume of frost. Harry, the tunnel that had survived collapse, inspections, and sabotage attempts, held the last hope of freedom. Its entrance, concealed beneath an ordinary stove in the barracks, was the portal to a dream decades in the making. One by one, prisoners inched into the narrow shaft, feet first, their bodies pressed against the cold, rough walls. Some whispered words of encouragement to the men ahead, others murmured prayers to unseen gods, clinging to faith as a shield against fear. The wooden tracks beneath their hands and knees creaked faintly with each movement, but the silence above held. Guards patrolled the surface, unaware that 50 meters below, a lifeline to liberty snaked through the dark earth. The tunnel seemed endless, every meter a test of patience and courage, every step forward a victory against the weight of captivity.
The moment of emergence was fraught with tension. When the first prisoner pushed open the wooden hatch at the far end of the tunnel, he was confronted with moonlight glinting off fresh snow. They had surfaced short of the forest edge, exposed and vulnerable, yet turning back was no longer an option. Heartbeats thundered in ears, breath quickened, and instinct took over. One after another, men scrambled out into the night, snow crunching beneath boots, shadows swallowing their forms as they sprinted toward the dark cover of trees. The night, silent and seemingly infinite, became both ally and enemy. Each movement carried the risk of detection, each second the chance of freedom or death. The cold bit at exposed skin, but adrenaline and the taste of liberty drowned the pain, propelling men forward despite exhaustion and fear. 76 Allied prisoners had made it out of the tunnel before a patrolling guard caught sight of movement. The alarm erupted across the camp like thunder, shattering the quiet night. Searchlights stabbed through the darkness, casting long, rigid beams that fractured the shadows. Sirens wailed and echoed across the barracks, dogs barked furiously, straining at their leashes, and armed patrols surged into the surrounding grounds. Panic rippled among the escapees. Those still in the tunnel froze, unsure whether to advance or retreat. The camp, once a prison of monotonous routine, had transformed into a scene of chaos, a violent dance of light, sound, and motion. Men dashed for cover using every tree, ditch, and shadow as sanctuary. Some were caught in the initial surge, others disappeared into the night, leaving only footprints in the snow as fleeting proof of their passage. Each choice, each desperate sprint, weighed life and death on a knife's edge, encapsulating the raw intensity of a plan that had taken months to perfect. For a few minutes, chaos reigned across the snow-draped camp, the clamor of alarm bells, barking dogs, and shouting guards blending into a single deafening roar.
Yet soon the harsh machinery of order returned, cold and merciless, cutting through the night with unyielding precision. The Gestapo was summoned, their black cars slicing through the moonlit roads, and roadblocks sprang up across the countryside like a malignant web. Every village, barn, and train station became a checkpoint. Every shadow held the potential for capture. One by one, the escapees were located, wrested from their brief taste of freedom, and marched back into captivity. Only 3 men would defy the odds entirely, one finding sanctuary in Sweden, 2 in Spain. For the remainder, the dream of liberty dissolved in the icy light of interrogation rooms, the cold echo of barred cells, and the bitter knowledge that freedom had slipped through their fingers despite months of planning, sweat, and whispered hope. The cost of daring to escape was unimaginably cruel. Adolf Hitler, inflamed by the audacity of the operation, ordered the execution of 50 recaptured prisoners, a flagrant violation of the Geneva Convention. Men were taken in small groups, loaded into trucks under the pretense of transfer, and driven to remote fields or empty roadsides where silence and snow concealed the atrocities. The Gestapo carried out the executions with chilling efficiency. News of the massacre spread like a shadow through the POW camps, chilling men more than the winter's frost ever could. Yet amidst the grief and horror, the story of the Great Escape endured, remembered as both a symbol of indomitable courage and a testament to the tragic price of defiance. It revealed the extraordinary ingenuity, unity, and bravery of men who dared to challenge the impossible, while simultaneously exposing the dark cruelty that war could unleash on those who sought freedom. Despite the horror, the spirit of the escape resonated long after the snow had melted and the barbed wire had rusted. The men who had dug, forged, and risked their lives beneath Stalag Luft 30 held within themselves the quiet satisfaction that they had struck a blow against captivity.
Every shovelful of dirt, every forged document, every painstakingly drawn map had been an act of rebellion, a refusal to succumb to despair. In the silent hours, the survivors would recall the taste of cold air rushing through the tunnel, the weight of the earth pressing down on their backs, and the fleeting glimpse of moonlight over the barracks. These memories became a lifeline, a reminder that courage could exist even in the darkest, most suffocating corners of the world. For the men who survived, the escape, though incomplete, was not a failure. It was a triumph of spirit, imagination, and solidarity. The aftermath of the escape reverberated far beyond Stalag Luft 3. Investigators meticulously documented the events, recording the names, actions, and fates of each prisoner. Books and diaries preserved these stories, and the narrative eventually reached the broader world through newspapers, memoirs, and the legendary film adaptation, The Great Escape. But no dramatization could fully convey the tactile, suffocating reality, the scrape of metal against sand, the stifling darkness, the constant tension, and the whispered prayers exchanged between friends inches from freedom. It was a story of audacity, tragedy, and human ingenuity, a story that reminded the world that even in the cold grip of oppression, hope could be carved, hammered, and breathed into existence. The Great Escape became more than an event. It became a legend, a testament to the unyielding human spirit. Their defiance had shaken the confidence of the captors and inspired hope far beyond the barbed wire that encircled Stalag Luft 3. Word of the escape, whispered among prisoners and eventually reaching Allied intelligence, became a beacon of courage and ingenuity. Even in defeat, the men had demonstrated that determination and unity could challenge the mightiest of oppressors.
Their months of painstaking labor, digging, reinforcing, ventilating, and concealing the tunnels were not in vain. For every act of bravery, every ingenious invention, and every silent plan carried a powerful message. Captivity could not extinguish the human will.
Men who had once feared the cold, rigid discipline of the camp now held a quiet pride, knowing they had taken part in something far greater than themselves, a testament to perseverance against overwhelming odds. After the war, investigators and historians meticulously documented every detail of the escape, determined to honor those who had risked and often lost their lives for a fleeting taste of freedom. The story traveled across continents, finding its way into books, diaries, and reports, and eventually inspiring the iconic film The Great Escape, which brought the events to millions of viewers worldwide. Yet, no dramatization could ever fully capture the suffocating darkness of the tunnels, the scrape of metal against compacted sand, the rhythmic clatter of tiny sleds carrying soil, or the quiet bravery of men inching forward in absolute silence, knowing that discovery could mean death. Every inch of those tunnels carried sweat, fear, hope, and resilience, transforming a simple act of escape into a monumental feat of human ingenuity and courage. In the cold March night of 1944, beneath a blanket of snow, the men carved out more than tunnels. They carved out a lesson in endurance and defiance. Every carefully hewn passage, every wooden support beam fashioned from bunk beds, and every improvised ventilation system represented a triumph over despair. Their courage inspired not only those within the camp, but also countless others who would later read or hear of their daring exploits. The faint light at the end of each tunnel symbolized more than physical freedom. It was the hope of returning home, the possibility of a life beyond captivity, and the proof that even in the darkest corners of war, the human spirit could endure, innovate, and push forward against impossible odds. The escape, though incomplete, became an enduring emblem of resilience, proving that determination could transform fear into action and depression into opportunity. The aftermath of the escape left an indelible mark on history. The names of the men who perished, the stories of those who survived, and the meticulous planning that had gone into every detail were preserved in military records, memoirs, and oral histories. Generations would come to study their ingenuity, bravery, and sacrifice. More than simply an act of rebellion, the Great Escape embodied the unbreakable will of individuals bound together by a common cause. It reminded the world that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. That even in a controlled, oppressive environment, intelligence, creativity, and solidarity can carve a path to freedom. The tunnels under Stalag Luft 3 remained silent after the war, but their story spoke loudly, echoing through time as a tribute to human resilience, innovation, and the eternal quest for liberty. Even decades later, the legacy of the escape continues to resonate. The tale of men crawling through cramped, dark tunnels, smuggling sand into the yard, forging documents, and braving almost certain death has become a timeless example of resistance and resourcefulness. Scholars, filmmakers, and enthusiasts alike return to Stalag Luft 3 not merely to recount history, but to honor the spirit of those who refused to be broken. In every account, whether in meticulous records or cinematic dramatizations, the essence remains the same. The Great Escape was a triumph of human spirit over adversity, a demonstration that even when trapped by walls, barbed wire, and armed guards, courage and ingenuity can carve a path to freedom. These men,
through sweat, ingenuity, and relentless hope, left a legacy far beyond the confines of a single prisoner of war camp. A reminder that even the darkest nights can give birth to extraordinary courage.